All right. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone? Good?
Good morning.
Well, my name is Vishal Ghariwala, and I'm from the Red Hat APAC Office of Technology. And I'd really like to thank all of you for coming to the Red Hat Forum in Korea and spending some time with us. Now, before we start our 60-minute epic demo, I'd like to take a couple of seconds to thank our sponsors here. This event would not have been possible without their support. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors. Now, at the same time, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the correct team, the stellar team from Red Hat, Hendra, Sutanto, and Rahul, Vijayanm.
Good morning, everyone.
See, my job today is very simple. My job is just to narrate the story. But it will be their magic that will be bringing life to my story. We are going to be showing you around 7 to 8 demos, live demos. And we all know that when we do live demos, anything can happen. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we are able to do all the demos seamlessly. Now, we have been delivering these Keynote demo sessions over the past couple of years. And for those of you who have been at the Red Hat forums, you know what I mean. In 2017, we showcased the story of a fictional company, Destination. It's a travel company. And we showed how, by using Red Hat technologies, it was able to digitally transform itself to become the best travel company in Asia. Then just last year, we demonstrated another story, this time of a traditional pharmaceutical company called Big Pharm, the challenges that it was facing, and how acquisition was its answer to actually digitally transform. So Big Pharm acquired a small nimble startup called Bionode, adopted some of its technologies, and today it's on its way to its own journey of digital transformation. So Big Pharm has been doing a lot of great things over the past 12 months. It has achieved a great level of control and efficiency, has improved the security compliance tremendously, and the entire open hybrid cloud platform that it has built, it's powered by open APIs. Now, as a result of this, it has also generated a lot of cost savings for Big Pharm, and Big Pharm, in return, has shifted all of these cost savings towards future innovation. So, this is the big question. All right, the big question is this. Big Pharm built a great platform using Red Hat technologies. But who did it build this great platform for? Who is going to make use of all its powerful capabilities? Who is going to take the cost savings that Big Pharm made and channel it towards future innovation? And finally, who is going to be building the next generation of applications? And the answer is, it's going to be the developers. The developers are the kingmakers, the new kingmakers of the digital era. These are the artists of the digital canvas where business is conducted today. And guess what? There are just not enough developers. There's a shortage of developers. And that is not good news because developers are absolutely critical to software-driven innovation. Let's look at how some of the industry leaders are responding to this. Microsoft actually acquired GitHub for $7.5 billion. What did Microsoft actually acquire through this acquisition? Well, Microsoft acquired a community where developers hang out, a community where they collaborate, where they actually share code. They actually acquired a community where kingmakers hang out. And then just a couple of months back, IBM finally closed the acquisition of Red Hat. So what did IBM acquire? Red Hat does not own any intellectual property because every product that we build is based on open source projects. What IBM actually acquired or gained through the acquisition was the open culture at Red Hat. IBM inherited the open source software development methodology of Red Hat, and at the same time, IBM got access to the highly talented pool of engineers and developers that are building all of the powerful products that we have at Red Hat. So make no mistakes, this is really about the people. This is about the technologists, the specialists. I like to call them the artists. The developers are the ones who are making the difference between winning and not in the digital realm. Now, they are the new kingmakers, whether they are working as software vendors or working in traditional software companies, consumers such as Big Farm. They are the ones who are setting the direction for software no matter where they work. And as leaders, we have to embrace this reality and make sure that we are able to create the best place for developers to work. So what does that look like? What does the platform and toolbox of a kingmaker look like? How do they prefer to operate? Where do they do their best work? What tools do they actually do to do their best work? Now, let's explore this further, but now let's explore this as Big Farm. All right, good morning everyone. My name is Pils Malone, and I am the CITO of Big Farm. And I'm absolutely delighted to be back at the Red Hat Forums in Asia Pacific once again with my absolutely fantastic team, Hendra and Rahul. At Big Farm, we have absolutely stabilized our open hybrid cloud platform. We have introduced Ansible throughout our platform. Today, believe it or not, we have OpenShift available on all of our clouds, our public clouds, as well as our in-house private clouds. We have become totally cloud native, and our developers at Big Farm are absolutely loving it. Today we have a lot more applications running at Big Farm than in the past, and that's simply due to the fast adoption of microservices running on container technology. We have 400 live OpenShift clusters running today in the production environment. Traffic is coming in 24/7. That means business is going very well. But then I still do have a concern. My concern is so many clusters, 24/7 traffic. How do we then keep the platform up to date? And this is a question that I want to ask my colleague here, Rahul. How do we address this?
Pils, we have addressed this challenge by using over-the-air update functionality that comes with an OpenShift. So a few weeks before, Red Hat released the latest version of OpenShift, and I went ahead and updated all the 400 clusters in our environment. And that was just like updating an iPhone. Since you asked this, I have created a short video of the whole update process, which covers the major milestones in that update process. So let me walk you through that video. Hendra. So here comes that video. So Pils, you might remember, in the previous version of OpenShift, we had to use different tool sets, had to go to different log files to check the status of cluster. But with OpenShift 4, things have changed. With OpenShift 4, we can check the status of cluster, check the status of individual components, and even the event streams from one single place. And all the different logs and different monitoring logs has been consolidated into one single place, and that's what exactly you see right now on the screen. Now, if I check the cluster settings, here is a place where Red Hat proactively tells us whether we have latest version of OpenShift updates available or not. So when I click on updates available, I'll be able to see a list of drop down of new versions. Over here, I have one single version, which is 4.1.13. I select that and click update. So once I click update, the system starts updating. And we are updating from 4.1.11 to 4.1.13. And in few seconds of time, you can see that the system is updating. Here you go, it's updating. And Pils, you might be wondering how such a complex system can be updated in one single click. The magic is done by operators. So what are exactly these operators? So operators are pretty like those human operators who works in a factory, who knows deep about those machines and can fix things if something goes wrong in a very manual way. Pretty like that, we have software operators who knows about our cluster and can fix things if something goes wrong in an automated fashion. And over here we see a list of operators, cluster operators, which are at version 4.1.11, and we are updating that to 4.1.13. And in case if you are an advanced user, advanced administrator, and if you want to customize your operator before the update happens, I can do that from the same graphical user interface, which means that I make less errors during the update process. So now, if I check the overview, I can see that we are at 13% of the update process. Now comes a major part. Pills, whenever you update a system, whenever you update a software, we are all worried and concerned about downtimes and maintenance times. So how do we address that? We want to provide uninterrupted services to the end users. With the help of OpenShift highly available architecture, we are able to meet that. OpenShift HA consists of 3 controller nodes where we update them one by one in such a way that we are able to provide uninterrupted services to the end users. And one of the most beautiful things over here is that with one single click, you can update both operating system as well as the OpenShift cluster. Previously, it was not the case because we have to update 2 systems separately, both operating systems as well as clusters separately. Here, with one single click, I can update as a single stack. And here you see that we are at 67%, which means that 2 out of the 3 controller nodes are being running, and one of them is undergoing an update. And yet another thing, over here in OpenShift 4, Red Hat has released a latest version of OpenShift, which consists of a new functionality called telemetry. And we have enabled that in our cluster in such a way that we are receiving proactive updates from Red Hat telling that you have issues in your OpenShift cluster, which helps us to update and roll out new patches and security patches in a very quick fashion. So that's something which made us very, very efficient in running operations. Now if you see that, the system is updated to 4.1.13. We are at the latest version, which we selected from the drop-down, and we are at a stable version of 4.1 as a channel version 4.1. And if I look at the cluster operators, all the cluster operators, the infrastructure operators are being updated to 4.1.13 with that one single click. And this is how the over-the-air update functionality works with the in OpenShift. So Hendra, so Pills, with the help of these cluster operators, with the help of these infrastructure operators, we were able to achieve 3 major things. The first one is we were able to update all the clusters, all the 400 clusters in a very consistent fashion. We were able to patch our systems, roll out patches and security issues with the help of telemetry, and it just works across all the footprints. Doesn't matter where OpenShift is, over-the-air update functionality works across all footprints. Isn't that impressive, Pills?
Well, I think it's a fantastic technology, over the updates, and based on what you have demonstrated, it's more than just being over the air updates. I really like the fact that I can go to bed peacefully, not having to worry, and when I wake up the morning after, 400 clusters updated with the latest patches. And add to that all of these predictive capabilities. What that means is that over time we will have a very, very stable environment. We can actually rest very well, not having to worry about all of these challenges. Net, what this means is that it's lower operational expenses for everyone. Right, Rahul?
That's right. That's right, Pills. So, and we don't stop there. We have a diverse set of developers in our organization, and we want to provide all the different flexibility and freedom to choose their environment where they want to develop their applications. Some of them would like to use laptops. Some of them would like to use standalone virtual machines. Some of them use online tools. And it doesn't matter where they are developing their applications. It's our responsibility to make sure that they are safe and secure. So let me show you how we made our environment safe and secure. Plus, how did we make it seamless and transparent for the developers to consume it? So, over the screen, we are seeing cloud management services for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It is a software as a service tool hosted by Red Hat, where it can manage Red Hat Enterprise Linux host. It can manage RHEL across on-premises as well as on cloud environments, which makes it a hybrid client kind of architecture. And we require that because we are having a hybrid cloud kind of architecture. Now, let me show you how vulnerability management works. Vulnerability management helps us to assess, monitor, report, and remediate common vulnerability exposures, known as CVEs. CVEs are threats which can take down your system and cause downtime in your environment. Example, Spectre, Meltdown, Heartbleed, pills. You might remember, last year we had a heartbleed issue and we were all bleeding.
Well, you were bleeding, I lost a lot of money, I also lost a lot of sleep. So yes, I remember that very well.
So let me log into the cloud management services for RHEL. It just timed out.
So basically, Rahul, what you're going to show us right now, I think this is one of the things that, as enterprises will bring a lot of value, especially when we have a hybrid cloud platform, right?
Exactly, you're right. So such a kind of platform helps us to manage both on-premises and as well as things on cloud as well. So with the help of this tool, we are able to proactively understand what's going in our environment. So I can see a list of CVEs which is affecting my environment. So as I scroll down, you can see a list of CVEs. And if I take the first one as an example, the first one is being published on 7th of August, and it is attacking 12 systems, and it has a moderate impact onto it. So if I want to know more about that, I can click onto it, I can read more about that particular issue, and I can decide whether I need to remediate or not. I can remediate all the 12 systems, or I can decide to remediate a subset of the systems. So I can choose a subset of the systems, which makes the Ansible buttons get highlighted. I can download the playbook, or I can integrate this playbook with Ansible Tower to automate my remediation. Now, let me talk about compliance. Compliance management helps us to assess, monitor, and report and remediate external and internal regulatory compliances like ISO 27001, which helps us to keep us away from malicious actors and security threats. So which simply means that we made our environment much more secure. And over here, Pills, you can see that we are 100% compliant, which means that you can invite auditors anytime onto our organization. And we are completely ready for them.
That's great. I see that, we are 100% compliant. You'll be getting that new salary increase very, very soon, Rahul. Great job.
I'm very glad to hear that. Thank you, Pills. And this is what happens when you employ smart people like Hendra and myself. All right, let me talk more about the compliance. So in our environment, I'm using OpenSCAP as an auditing tool to make my environment compliant. And I have set 95% as the threshold for the compliance policies. If any of the systems meet 95% of the compliance policies, I am 100% compliant. And if I scroll down, you can see many of my systems are above 95%. And if in case, if any of the systems are not compliant, I can select those systems. The Ansible button gets highlighted in blue. Then I can download the playbook, or I can integrate that playbook with an Ansible Tower to do a remediation in automated fashion. And one last thing over here, remediations. Remediation is a very quick way to resolve vulnerability issues as well as compliance issues with one single playbook. So which is pretty like killing two birds with one stone.
That's very, very interesting. Killing two birds with one stone.
That's right. And with the help of cloud management services for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, we achieved three things. The first one is we made our environment proactive in security, and we made environment very, very secure. We saw that it's 100% compliant. And now we made our developers more productive by providing them a seamless and transparent environment for them to consume. And the third point is now we are operationally very efficient, and we can do our operations in a very scalable manner across on-premises and cloud. Are you happy about such a team over here, Pills?
Well, I'm very, very happy. It's pretty impressive team, because security is absolutely critical in a multi-cloud environment. But at the same time, we do not want security to get in the way of our developers. And with what you have showed me, it means two things. First of all, our developers will get more flexibility to write code faster and get code out to production faster. Secondly, we all also will be able to sleep better because, there are lesser fire drills. Right, Rahul?
That's right, Pils. And we all know the fact that how much you love to sleep. And would you like to see what else we have done so that you can sleep better?
Really, you have done more things? Well, what are we waiting for, Rahul? Let's see that.
All right. So, Pils, till this point of time, we have been talking about how we made our environment safe and secure, how we made it transparent and easy for the developers to consume it. Now, our developers has been very creative and they want to onboard third-party applications on OpenShift because they want to integrate those third-party applications with existing applications, which makes them a little bit more better, create more creative apps, which makes sense to the business. So let me show you how we have done this with the help of OpenShift. And when these developers request for third-party applications, that actually brings us two challenges. The first one is how do we make sure that these third-party applications are safe and secure to be running on OpenShift? And the second challenge is how do we make it easy for the developers to consume it? So let me show you that. I'm logged into OpenShift console. I'm at Operator Hub. So Operator Hub is a place where we can see a set of catalog of operators which I can install on OpenShift. And it's pretty like an app store for iPhone or Android kind of phones. As I scroll down, you can see that I have a bunch of operators. Some of them are certified by Red Hat, some of them are certified by ISVs, some of them are certified by, or some of them are by the community. So I really recommend our developers to go and use the ones which are certified by Red Hat or ISVs so that we can make sure that things runs perfectly fine in production environment. And if the developers wants to go and use community for research purpose or to make apps more creative, they are welcome to do that, but try it out in a test and development OpenShift cluster. Now comes to the second point. How do we make sure that this can be easily accessible to a developer? So 2 days before, one of the developers came to me and talked about how we can deploy a Couchbase database cluster to integrate with their existing application. So I want to show you over here how we can deploy a Couchbase database cluster, which is a NoSQL database in 2 to 3 minutes of time. So for that, I get to install operators. I select the operator, and this is the place where I click to create a new Couchbase cluster. So for that, I need to type in my secret key, which I have pre-created, and that pops in right over here, and then I click create. So once I click create, then a new Couchbase cluster will be deployed. Let's see what happens within this Couchbase cluster. I click on that new cluster. I click on resources. We can see that Couchbase pods are coming up. So it takes around 2 to 3 minutes to come up. So meanwhile, Pils, would you like to know more about OpenShift operators?
Yes, Rahul, this OpenShift operator technology sounds very interesting. So yes, please share more about that.
Yeah, Pils, OpenShift operators actually helps us to have a consistent deployment and packaging. Also, it provides an enterprise lifecycle behind it. Meaning to say that when we have lifecycle, we have a peace of mind from an operational standpoint. This also means that these operators are kept up to date, where we are free from security issues as well as interoperability issues, which also means that the developers can use this because it is pre-tested, pre-validated. They can just directly consume it, which also means that faster time to market for organizations. Now, we can see that Couchbase cluster is ready. And how do we now give access to our developers? For that, we need to give access to an UI. So for that, I need to get to routes, which is under networking. I click routes. So everything works in an OpenShift. If you want to have external access, we need to go create routes. So I click on the particular link, the Couchbase link, and that takes me to a Couchbase UI.
So hang on, Rahul. You are telling me that in just a couple of minutes, you have been able to set up a highly available setup of Couchbase without referring to any documentation?
You're perfectly right.
That's awesome.
And Pills, you might remember this. Traditionally, we had to, whenever we want to deploy a database, we had to reach out to a database expert. And he had to come down, he has to design, deploy, and architect how to do a database. And once he does that, he has to give access to the developer. Over here, we just saw that we could do a Couchbase cluster in 2 to 3 minutes, even with routing in place. So now let me log into the Couchbase cluster. So once I log into the Couchbase cluster, I should be able to see a highly available Couchbase cluster up and running. So this simply means that we are giving the power back to the developers so that he himself or she herself can deploy an application and start consuming it. Such an easy way of doing things. And Pills, with the help of these application operators, we were able to achieve 3 major things. We were able to make sure that the third-party applications can be onboarded in a very safe and secure manner. And the second point is, how do we make it accessible, easy accessible for the developers to consume this? And the third point is, this is an app store for Kubernetes. What a wonderful technology it is, Pills.
Yes, I mean, this operator technology is really, really wonderful, Rahul. And, you know, when I think about operators, application operators, what immediately comes to my mind is that, you know, our developers have always wanted to try out new technology from software vendors. With operator technology, they can actually try that out. They don't need to know a lot about how the actual software works, and they can try it out, install it, manage it, all automatically in a secure manner. That's really fantastic. I agree. This is indeed like the App Store, the Apple App Store, but for Kubernetes. So I really appreciate the great work that my team has been doing, looking out for me, less worries for me. I can sleep well. You know, but having great tools is just one part of the equation. Because remember, it's also about creating an environment where developers will thrive, an environment where they can operate at their best. And I'm really talking about giving developers the freedom to develop anything, anytime, and anyway, of course, without getting us into trouble. So Hendra, how did we actually provide this level of freedom to our developers at Big Farm?
Sure, Pills. What you mentioned just now is very important for the developer. And since we have upgraded to OpenShift version 4, that comes with some very powerful developer feature. Let me show you what this is all about. So, Pills, are you ready to get nerdy?
Hendra, I was nerdy before you were even born. So just show the demo.
All right. So what you're seeing on the screen here is Red Hat Code Ready Workspaces. And this is an in-browser IDE. That means now our developer can use this IDE to develop application at any time, from anywhere, using any device. So Pills, as you know, our developers are scattered across the globe. Now using these code-ready workspaces, now they are able to collaborate with one another, even from a remote location, by sharing a workspace. All they need to do is to share this workspace, and they will be able to collaborate with one another. This is just like Google Docs, but for developer. So speaking of hiring smart people, Rahul,
Yes.
well, we hire smart people on a weekly basis to join our development team. And in the past, we actually have a problem in onboarding the developer. We typically need to spend at least 1 to 2 days to onboard them before they are able to start contributing to the project. And that is a huge loss in terms of developer productivity. So using these code-ready workspaces, we have successfully reduced the developer onboarding time significantly. So since we are here, Rahul, why don't we take this opportunity? You mentioned to me that you are actually interested in contributing with one of the projects that I'm working on.
I'm excited to do that, yes, definitely.
All right, so I'm going to take this opportunity to share this workspace with you. All right, to do that, all I need to do is to go to this workspace setting, and I'm going to the Quarkus workspace that I want to share with you. All I need to do is to click on this Share tab and add you as one of the developer. All right, So all I need to do is to type in your email address, rahul@bigfarm.com. That's right?
That's right, yes.
All
That's
right.
the right email ID.
Okay. Oh, then I click on the share button. That's it. Done.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, one of the best thing about Code-Ready Workspaces is that it's integrated with Red Hat Single Sign-On and our LDAP. That means now you can just use your corporate account to log in into Code-Ready Workspaces.
So can I try now?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Do you want me to switch to your screen?
Oh, definitely. So I just have to use Code-Ready Workspaces to log in, right?
Yep. Just
Okay.
type in your enterprise login, just like how you log into any big farm.
Which is my
application.
SSO password, right?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Oh, there comes the Code-Ready Workspaces. And is it the Caucus workspace, your shared workspace, Hendra?
Yes, that's right. This is the one that I share with you.
So that means I can see your code, and also at the same time I can start using the same shared workspace.
Yes, that's right.
Very interesting.
And everything has been configured automatically for you, so you do not need to do any configuration at all.
Wow, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Hendra.
Yep, all right. I can see that your screen is still loading. I think perhaps there's some networking issue.
I think we should talk to the network guys.
We should talk about that, but you know, Rahul, I see that you're very excited that now you can also start contributing code. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, Rahul doesn't have much software development experience. And obviously, we do not want him to inject security vulnerabilities into the code that we roll out. So Hendra, is there any way that we can actually get Rahul to contribute code, but at the same time ensure that whatever he's writing, whatever libraries that he's incorporating, they are actually tested, you know, for all of this type of CVEs?
Sure, Pils. As you know, developing application and ensure that these applications are secure is very big concern in Big Farm, and we take this very seriously. So on the screen here, this is VS Code. So this is another IDE that used by our developers in Big Farm. And the reason here is that we don't want to restrict them to only use Code-Ready Workspaces. They can use any IDE that they like to develop application. So Rahul, the project that I've shared with you, actually I'm using a lot of open source library out there, right? So I'm using things like Rest Easy, one of my favorite library.
I know this, you like to rest easy. And if you ask Pills like to sleep on a Couchbase.
That's right. And then you should be able to get familiar with the Log4j, one of the popular Java logging library out there. So the idea here is that we do not need to start from scratch. But then, how are we then able to ensure that all of these open source library that we are using out there are free from security vulnerabilities all the time? Now, thankfully, Red Hat introduced us to what they call Red Hat Dependency Analytics tool that helps us to scan all of dependency that we put in our project, and it will flag out if there's any security vulnerabilities. All right, so to do that, all I need to do is to install this extension called Red Hat Dependency Analytics into the VS Code, and this is also available in the Code-Ready Workspaces. Now, to do that, all I need to do is to go to the dependency file, right-click on it, and select Dependency Analytics Report, and it will generate a very beautiful report for me. I have pre-generated this report, and I'm going to show it to you. This report basically highlights to me that I have two CVE found in my dependency. And one of them has a CVSS score of 7.5 out of 10. That is very high. And in the report, it actually tells me which library I'm using that caused these vulnerabilities, which is the Log4j. And using this vulnerability, the attackers can actually steal our customer data or bring down our service. So this is very serious. But this report don't just leave me hanging there. It can also provide me with the recommendation. So the recommendation here is basically to ask me to move to the next version, which is 2.12.1, that has this vulnerability fixed. So I'm going to fix that later. So,
but I have a question, Hendra, here. So as I'm a new developer, so when I start developing new applications, I might be using open source libraries out there in the communities. So are you saying that when I use that open source libraries, this particular tool can scan and find out the security vulnerabilities? Am I right to say so?
Yes, exactly. And not only at the time that you add this library to your project, but every time that you rebuild your application, you can use this tool to scan it so that if there's any new uncovered vulnerabilities, it will flag it out for you.
Very interesting, Hendra. Thanks for sharing all this.
No problem. I'm waiting for your first pull request, yeah?
Definitely, yes, I will do that.
All right. So, Pils, just by adopting code-ready workspaces, we have gained 3 major benefits. First, now our developer can use these code-ready workspaces to build their application at any time, from anywhere, using any device. Secondly, now we have successfully reduced our developer onboarding time from 1 to 2 days to just a few minutes. That means now our developer productivity has increased. And lastly, using the Red Hat Dependency Analytics, now our development team can build our application with the security in mind. Isn't that wonderful, Pils?
This is indeed wonderful. It's a joy to watch this team. And, I'm just thinking, how all of these capabilities will help our developers to get faster in terms of, committing code. The fact that we can onboard developers so quickly, and not just onboard them, but help to ensure that once they get to writing code, they can do it in a secure manner. I think this is how we can get down to business much faster. This is how we will blaze ahead of the competition. And, that is what I call as developer joy. Right, Hendra?
That's right. It's all about developer joy. But this is more than just tools for developers. It's also about application runtimes and framework. And Red Hat has been the first-class supporter for many of the popular languages such as Ruby, Python, Go, Node.js, and of course our good and reliable friend, Java. And the best part is that all of these languages are certified to run with OpenShift. Isn't that impressive, Pils?
I mean, that's impressive. When I look at all of these languages here on the screen, I kind of understand the sort of freedom that our developers will now get. Because it's all about choosing the right language for the right application. Now, speaking about applications, Hendra, I recall that we actually had this large, complicated product catalog application that allows our consumers to see what drugs we are actually selling into the market. I understand that you and your team were working on refactoring it, building them using smaller microservices technology. So how did we actually build this application, Hendra?
Well, I'm glad that you actually bring that up, Pils. Let me just show it to you how this is all about, right? On the screen here, this is our product information page that you have just mentioned. Our customer used this to understand the drug that we produce. And this page alone, we use several microservices that we stitch together using what we call OpenShift service mesh. And the mesh actually takes care of all the complexity in building microservices. It takes care of things like traffic management, policy enforcement, as well as service discovery. So that now our developer can use any languages that they like to build our application. We also have another problem. In the past, we have a problem in managing all these microservices because the microservices is still very complex, and this page alone we already use 3 microservices. We have hundreds of thousands of microservices running in our environment, and if one of the services encounter any failures, it takes a lot of time for our team to actually recover from failure. That affects the quality of the service for our customer. But thankfully, now OpenShift Service Mesh comes with Cali console. So what is Cali console? Let me show it to you. This is Cali console. And now our team actually use this to understand the topology of our microservices. You can see in this screen, we have 3 microservices that made up the product information page. So you can see that to call the product information page, they actually need to get the details and review information from different microservices before return the result to our customer. And then you can also at one glance see whether there's any bottleneck on each of the microservices. And you can see that here it says that it only takes 24 milliseconds for the microservices to respond to our customer. That's blazing fast. And now you can also take a look at the overall health of the traffic. You can see here there's a 100% success rate. And you can see there's a full green bar over here. And that means good. All right? So now that our operation team can use this Cali console and they can recover from failure much faster, and our development team can push changes regularly to our product information page, we also want to have an advanced deployment technique to push out the changes consistently to our customer. We want to be able to employ techniques such as Cannery deployment, where we deploy a new application, new version of the application, where instead of we expose it to 100% of the user base immediately, we expose it to a small group of the user and then gradually expand it to 100% of the user base. If the new version of the application encounter any failure, we will be able to roll back easily. I will show you how we do Cannery deployment using Service Mesh. To do that, I'm going to switch over to my favorite UI. In this UI, which is the command line interface, I'm going to issue a command that basically tells the Service Mesh that I want to redirect 20% of the traffic to version 2 of the application, which I already deployed on OpenShift. And then 80% of the traffic, I will redirect it to the existing version. Now, let's see. Now it says that the changes has taken effect. All I need to do is to go back to the product info page. And this time, I want you to pay attention to the review section over here. The new version of the product info page will show the ratings of the review as well. So all I need to do is to refresh this page a couple of times to show the new version of the application. Bear in mind that 80% of the traffic is still redirected to, there you go, cha. This is the new version of the application, all right? So using this, now we can test the new version of the application. Once we are sure that it's reliable, we can expand it to 100% of the user base. Now, with the adaptive traffic management, we can also do a lot of experimentation with our customer. All right? So, for example, our customer experience team actually had a theory that this product information page is not really user-friendly because a lot of our customers nowadays, they use their mobile phone to browse our web page. And to do that, they kind of need to scroll down a little bit to access the review section over here. All right? So we have enhanced this to a new version. We call it version 3. And instead of exposing to all of the user, we want to test that theory. So to do that, we are actually employing a technique called A/B testing, where we expose this only to a Chrome browser user. Okay? So I'm going to show you how we're going to do A/B testing using the Service Mesh. All I need to do is to basically issue a single command that basically tells the Service Mesh to redirect the traffic to version 3 if they are using Chrome browser. If they are using any browser, any other browser, it will be redirected to the existing version. So Pils,
yes.
Since we have a lively audience here, why don't we get them to try it?
What, you want them to try this new version?
Yes, exactly.
Do you think our environment can take 1,000 requests coming in?
I think that's a valid concern, but we can use the Cali console to see the health of the traffic.
I like that. So why don't all of you take out your phones, hit this URL, and have a look at what Hendra has just implemented to see how the new version of the application actually looks like. So Hendra, I just can't wait, but I want to go to Cali console and see how the environment is performing with all the requests that will be coming in.
All right.
Can we do that?
So everyone, have you keyed in into your mobile browser this URL, bit.ly/rhf-kr. All right. So if you're using Chrome browser or Android phone, then you'll see the new version. If you're using iPhone, then you'll be seeing the existing version. All right. So I'm going to the Cali console, and you can see here that the topology of our microservices has changed as well. Now it shows that we have version 1, version 2, and version 3 of the application being deployed in OpenShift. And you can see all the traffic are going to the version 1 or version 3. Version 2 or version 3. It is no longer going to version 1. Then we can also see that we have introduced another microservices called rating microservices that basically provide the ratings information. Now, we can also observe that the traffic that is coming in, we still have 100% success rate, and we can see that we have hit 71 requests per second. And we still have a full green bar here, and that means good.
That's fantastic, Hendra. I mean, the fact that our system can take so much of concurrent transaction, you can also expect a salary increase very, very soon.
Well, that's really music to my ear. All right, so for those that you are not using a Chrome browser, I'm going to show you what the version 3 looks like. This is using Chrome browser, so all I need to do is to hit the refresh button, and you can see the flashy blue bars over here. And if I click on it, it will show up a very nice review section. All right? So Pils, just by adopting OpenShift Service Mesh, we have gained another 3 major benefits. First, the Service Mesh taking care of all the interconnectivity combination between microservices. Now our developer can focus on building the business logic that matters to our business. Secondly, with the adaptive traffic management, now we can do advanced deployment as well as experimentation with our customer and gain the real-time feedback from them. With the Cannery deployment and the A/B testing that we have just shown you. Lastly, with the Cali console, now we are able to observe the health of the microservices at a single glance. Isn't that amazing, Pils?
Yeah, I mean, this is really amazing. And if I think back, I don't remember seeing all of these new capabilities with OpenShift version 3. So it seems that OpenShift 4 has really raised the bar, and it is indeed more than just a Kubernetes platform. But I also know that whenever vendors come out with new versions, with new features, they increase the price of the product. So are we expecting to see a price hike for OpenShift 4 as well?
Oh, you don't need to worry about that, Pils. This is part of the Red Hat subscription model. And that means you can always get access to the latest version of their products.
That's fantastic. I really love the Red Hat subscription model. Now, I was just talking the other day to the team at Waldrates. Waldrates, they are one of our partners that uses all of our drug data APIs. And one of the things that they feedback is that they have a lot of apps that they are building to integrate with our APIs. And their developers tend to take a lot of time to do this integration. And they were exploring whether there's any value that we can actually provide to reduce this hurdle. So Rahul, is there anything else that we can do for our partners like Waldrates?
Pils, I have been working on something which actually increases the partner satisfaction. And I have something to show you as well.
You have to show me something else?
Great. Definitely. Okay, so as you know, our APIs are hosted on an API developer portal, and that's what you see right now on the screen. And these APIs and API developer portal is powered by 3Scale API management platform, and it is running on our OpenShift cluster. And this portal is a great way to market our APIs to our partners like hospitals, clinics, general hospitals, and all those different partners. And all the different partners gets access to our published APIs. And here, I want to show you what we have enhanced compared to last year. For that, I need to log into the website as a fictitious partner wallets, which will take me to that API portal. So let me log in to the, and this means that our partner wallets have access to our APIs, and they use a unique API management key, which is highlighted in those ones and twos, highlighted in red, and that's what the key they use to access our APIs. And historically, the partner developers has been relying on documentation to create that integration which can help to invoke our APIs. And this particular documentation was helping us to get some information about parameter types, data types. So the developers consume this information and they use it to develop that integration to invoke our APIs. And this was a time-consuming task. And this is a place where we went ahead and created an enhancement for our partner developers, where we created a live, dedicated code-ready workspaces for the partner developers, where they can access a sample application which can invoke an API. And that has been written across 3 different languages like Node.js, Python, and Java. So let me show you how the Node.js application looks like. So I click on Node.js, which takes me to that live code-ready workspaces. I need to log in as my partner. So when I log into it, it directs me to that dedicated live code-ready workspaces. So this code-ready workspaces consist of all the different functionalities, features, and libraries for the partner to go and just consume it. And they just have to run this application so that they can invoke the APIs. So let me run this application. So as I said, when I run this application, they get access to a new application, which is our sample application. So as I said, this particular code-ready workspaces running in our environment, and we are extending this environment to our partners so that they can access that sample application. So they don't have to set up the infrastructure, it is fully done by us. So let me take you to the new application. So this particular application, this beautiful application, is a place where I can type in the drug code, DR1000, which is one of our famous drugs. We all know about that, Augmentin. And when I click on the get info, that populates the information about that drug. So if I'm happy about the output, I can extract that code and integrate with the existing application. Or if I am not happy with that code, I can go back to this code-ready workspaces. I can change the code over here. I can redo that compilation, and then unless I become happy about that. So once I'm happy about that code and the output, I take that code and integrate with my existing application. So Hendra. So with the help of 3-scale and code-ready workspaces, we were able to achieve 3 major things. The first one is we were able to market our APIs to all our partners in a very beautiful fashion. The second thing is we were able to make our partner developers faster. Not only our developers, now our partner developers are also faster. And the third thing is we increase the partner satisfaction. Are you happy about all these technologies, Bills?
You know, I'm happy, but I think Wallrates is going to be even happier. And I mean, if this is not a fast, frictionless, and safe way to access third-party APIs, you know, then I do not know what is. So, you know, thank you everyone. Thank you Big Farm team, Hendra, Rahul. You know, we have actually showed you what are some of the things that we have done.
Pils,
and
before that I have a question.
You have a question?
Sorry to interrupt you, but so we have been doing a lot of innovation over here with different Red Hat technologies. When are we getting our innovation awards?
When are we? So this is a question for the team at Red Hat. When are you going to give the Red Hat Innovation Award to Big Farm? I think next year is a great year. That was a fantastic suggestion, Rahul. Thanks for that. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed catching up with the team at Big Farm. As you can see, they have made tremendous progress. They have driven their business forward, and they are doing some cool things with the open hybrid cloud platform and giving developers greater choice than ever. So what we have shown you so far addresses just one of the problems around the Kingmaker. And that is how you create the best environment for kingmakers, the developers, to work. There's another challenge that we have to address, and that is around the shortage of the right set of developers. There are just not enough developers. And when you talk about the right set of developers with the right skills, the talent pool is even smaller. So how can we actually expand this talent pool? Now, to do that, let's just look at one of the things. Why is finding developers, the right set of developers, difficult? In the domain, in the world of containers and microservices, the applications tend to be very small, very fast, very autonomous. And as a result of that, not every programming language out there is suitable to build microservices, to use container technology. Let's talk about one very, very popular language that I'm sure all of you have used it. I would say all of you love it. And that is Java, one of the most popular languages out there today. 7.6 million active developers, mostly in the enterprise space. Most number of repositories on GitHub, number 2, just next to JavaScript. And if you look at online documentation, as well as books written on Java, I think it's by far number 1. A lot of the traditional applications, the monolithic applications, mission-critical applications that are powering your government verticals, your telecommunications sectors, your banks, they're all built on Java technology. Yet, Java is not suitable in the microservices and containers world. Now, why is that so? See, it's not about Java. It's around how Java gets compiled and what Java is running on. So the way that Java was designed back in the 90s, it worked well then. Doesn't work well today because Java code that is compiled, generally it's very slow. And it also uses a lot of memory. And as we know that in the world of containers, we need apps to be fast, we need apps to be using lesser memory. So it's all around the virtual machine and how the language is compiled that makes Java look like big fat Java in the world of containers and microservices. Until today, because Red Hat has been doing some great work to bring Java into mainstream container technology through a project known as Quarkus. Now, Quarkus is basically a project that will enable you to use Java to develop all of these microservices. It removes all the obstacles that we have faced today. So some people call Java legacy. At Red Hat, we call Java leverage. So get ready for the final demo. I'll hand it over to Hendra. Let's see Quarkus in action.
Sure, Vishal. Let me jump straight into it. All right, for this demo, I have deployed 2 Java applications. The first one is a regular Java application. The second one, we build it with Quarkus. These 2 applications do the same thing, basically do a simple calculation and then return a result. But I want you to observe the memory consumption for each of the application. All right, so for the regular Java, which I label it as Big Fat Java, it consumes 120 megabytes in terms of memory. And for Quarkus, if you look at it, I label it as Supersonic Subatomic Java, only consume 21 megabytes in terms of memory. You can see that using Quarkus, we have successfully reduced the Java application's memory footprint to less than 5 times. That's very impressive. But then what about the startup time? Okay, Vishal, what do you think if we actually scale this application to 20 pods?
20 pods? No, 20 pods is too less. That's not scaling. Let's do 40 pods, double that.
40 pods. Are you sure about that?
I am very sure.
All right, why don't we just scale it to 50 then?
Are you sure about that?
Sure.
Let's do that.
All right. Okay, so for this demo, I'm going to scale this to 50 pods. All right. So first, I'm going to scale the Big Fat Java to 50 pods. And then the next one, I'm going to scale the Quarkus app to 50 pods. Now, I want you to observe on the ready column here. Once the pods is started up and ready to receive the traffic, you'll be able to see the increased count over here. So this is a race to 50. Whichever application reaches 50, they win. All right? So you can see now the Quarkus app has 16 ports that is ready to receive the traffic, and Big Fat Java is still warming up, and 50 ports.
Wow,
There you go.
looks like Quarkus has won the game, man.
Yes.
Fantastic demo, thanks.
Exactly, and the Java app still scaling, and we are not going to wait for that because it's still going to take some time. But in this short demo, we have just shown you, using the Quarkus app, we have successfully reduced the Java memory footprint and making it suitable to run in a container environment. Secondly, using the Quarkus app and the fast startup time for the Quarkus application, that make it suitable to run in a container-specific use case, such as serverless. And with the combination of these two benefits, we have successfully made Java competitive again and put Java developer back in the game in the container and serverless world. So as a Java developer, I'm very excited to see that we have a development in this Quarkus space. What do you think about that, Vishal?
I think that's fantastic, you know. So thank you very much, Rahul and Hendra, once again for your great stories, your great demonstrations. You know, ladies and gentlemen, last year we showed you how Big Farm modernized their infrastructure and created a foundation for their open hybrid cloud based on Red Hat, OpenShift, and other technologies at Red Hat. You know, and this year we actually showed you how, using Red Hat technologies, Big Farm was able to address two key challenges of the Kingmaker. First of all, giving the Kingmakers to basically develop anything, anytime, anywhere in a secure manner. Secondly, we also saw that through new innovations speared and led by Red Hat, such as Quarkus, we are actually getting Java developers back into the mainstream again, so that they can build all of these new applications using microservices and container technology. All this means more net new cloud-native development as we get access to this huge talent pool where Java developers are. So, team, why don't you come over to the stage?
All right.
All right, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thank you very much, team.
Pleasure.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the platform where ideas become reality is none other than Red Hat OpenShift. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
발표 감사합니다.